Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something really fascinating.
Yeah.
We're going deep into session 20 of the Law of One material.
Yeah, this one's packed.
It really is. Think of it as like uncovering the very beginnings of third density here on Earth. You know, the key forces, what was really going on back then.
And the way this session is laid out, it's basically question and answer. We've got the transcript so we
Yeah.
can follow the thinking step by step.
Exactly. It's super clear.
It helps unpack some, well, pretty big ideas without it feeling overwhelming.
Totally. And for everyone who likes to get straight to the point, this is perfect. We're going to pull out those key insights. So let's dive in. The questioner starts off setting the stage.
Right, they state, the intention is to focus on the history, the evolution through third density, even into early fourth.
A big picture view.
Absolutely, kind of the framework for consciousness development in this context,
Mm.
sets the stage for what comes next.
Okay, so the first real question, 20.1. It's about those second density beings, the ones still on Earth who didn't immediately jump to third density. What was their deal?
Well, Rad clarifies that they could actually sort of repeat parts of their second density cycle even while third density was starting up around them.
Oh, interesting. So like an overlap.
Yeah, exactly. Like echoes of the old density still playing out within the new one. Evolution isn't always a sharp cutoff, it seems.
Makes sense. So question 20.2 follows up logically. Did any of those remaining second density guys actually get, harvested into third density later on over the last 75,000 years?
And Rad says yes, absolutely. It's been happening, and actually more and more frequently over time.
So the door stays open, kinda.
It seems so. The potential for that shift remains.
Which brings us to 20.3, and this is such a relatable example. They ask for a recent case of this second to third density shift.
And Rad gives the example of the pet animal.
Yeah, I found this really striking.
It's the mechanism Ray describes that's so interesting. That strong bond, the love between a pet and a human.
Yeah.
It acts like a catalyst
A catalyst for what, exactly?
for individuation in the animal's consciousness.
Yeah.
So when the pet passes, its consciousness doesn't just like dissolve back into the species group mind.
Because of the bond.
Yes, that love has basically forged an individual spark. It's gained this unique self-awareness.
Wow, like the connection itself accelerated its evolution.
Pretty much. So 20.4 naturally asks, okay, what form do these newly minted third density beings take? What are they like at the start? Raz says they begin with the most basic third density trait,
Yeah.
self-consciousness. They become aware of themselves as separate individuals.
The very beginning of I am.
Exactly. They get the lowest vibrational distortions of third density,
Yeah.
which means that self-awareness kicks in.
And 20.5 confirms they then take on human form, starting their journey in third density, like a brand new soul stepping into the human experience.
That's the idea,
Yeah.
the starting point for many. Then the conversation shifts in 20.6. Big topic, physical changes.
Right, the shift from second to third density, losing
Yeah.
body hair, major structural changes, and all pretty fast, like 1.5 generation.
Yeah, the questioner notes that speed and connects it to Dewey Larson's physics, the idea of vibration.
And Ra agrees.
Rock confirms it. Says a fundamental shift in the basic vibration created different parameters, essentially allowing for a new type of physical body.
A vibrational upgrade, basically.
You could say that. Which leads to a quick sidetrack in 20.7 about Larson's physics itself. Is it correct?
What's the verdict?
Well, Rod gives a nuanced answer. It's correct as far as it goes, especially the vibration part, but it's incomplete.
Missing pieces.
Yeah, things like a full understanding of gravity and these other dimensions, the N dimensions Ra mentions. But Ra suggests future researchers building on Larson's work will figure that stuff out.
So knowledge builds on itself, stepping stones.
Exactly. It's always evolving. And 20.8 adds that Larson's work was maybe primarily aimed at or useful for fourth density understanding, hinting at future applications.
Interesting, like it was ahead of its time?
Perhaps. Then 20.9 brings us back to a core idea of third density, the split, service to others versus service to self. Why does that exist?
And the questioner uses that electrical polarity analogy, right? Like you need positive and negative for anything to happen.
Yes, and Ra agrees,
I mean-
using the general term work. It frames this duality not as a problem, but as necessary for experience, for growth, for, well, work to get done in this density.
So it's the engine of third density, in a way. Question 20.10 reinforces that. You need one orientation or the other for consciousness to do work.
Ra agrees, but add a nice little analogy. The potential, like a coil, needs the charge to activate it.
And where does the charge come from?
Question 20.11 points to us, individualized consciousness. Our free will choices provide the charge, directing the energy flow.
Our choices literally power the process. That's empowering. Okay, then 20.1 takes a sharp turn. Lifespan. Back at the start of third density, 75,000 years ago. How long did people live?
Get ready for this one. Ross says the average lifespan was around 900 years.
900 years. Wow. Okay, that changes things.
Right. Changes our whole picture of early human potential. Imagine the learning possible in one life.
Seriously. Makes our lives seem like a blink. So 20.13 asks, what happened to that lifespan? Did it stay at 900?
Ra explains the ideal would be a consistent lifespan for balanced learning. But on Earth, well, the vibrations here, especially by the second major cycle, caused it to shorten dramatically.
So conditions weren't ideal. How short did it get by the end of the first cycle, the first 25,000 years? That's 20.1 of 5.
Down to about 700 years, Ra says.
Okay, so 20.15 confirms a drop of 200 years in that first chunk of time. Why? What caused it? Question 20.16.
Ra points to, and I'm quoting loosely here, inharmonious relational vibration between other selves. Basically, growing separation, conflict, lack of harmony.
So how we treat each other affects how long we live. Physically.
That's the implication. A direct link between collective consciousness and physical longevity.
That's profound. Now, in 20.17, the questioner guesses maybe negative polarization or the Martian influx caused the shortening.
But Ra corrects that. Says the main reason was actually a lack of building positive orientation. People weren't choosing service to others strongly enough. Staying neutral, unpolarized, actually hindered progress and contributed to the decline.
So just not choosing positivity actively enough was the problem, not necessarily active negativity.
Seems that way. Lack of positive momentum leads to a kind of decay. Then 20.18 confirms the initial population mix. Earth souls up from second density and the transfers from Mars.
Right. And 20.19 adds that key detail. The Martians were already mid-third density. This was an adaptation for them.
Correct. Not starting from scratch like the Earth souls, which much have affected things.
And 20.20 gives the rough percentages. About half Martian, a quarter Earth grads, and a quarter from other places. Quite a mix.
A real melting pot. But question 20.21 asks if they actually mixed. And Ross says, nope, they largely stayed separate.
Setting the stage for potential problems, maybe.
Exactly what the questioner suggests in 20.22. Did this lack of mixing contribute to separation, even war? Ra says yes.
And 20.23 ties it back. Did that help shorten the lifespan?
Ra agrees again. Lack of unity, conflict, it all played a part.
Man, early days sound tough. So back to the 900 years. Question 20.24 asks why 900 is considered optimal for third density. What's the thinking?
Ra explains third density is super intense for learning. Lots of catalytic action. But the first 150, 200 years are like a spiritual childhood, meaning the mind and body are still developing, maybe not ready to fully handle or integrate higher spiritual insights yet.
Yeah.
So you need the rest of that long lifespan, the other 700 years or so, to really process and understand all the experiences.
Okay, that makes sense. You need time to digest everything.
Which leads to 20.25, reflecting on our current short lifespans.
Yeah.
They seem too short for new learners, right?
Ra agrees. Says only those who've already learned how to grow fast can really make progress now. Most people remain in a kind of perpetual childhood, spiritually within one life.
Makes you think, doesn't it? The challenges of our time.
Definitely. Okay, 20.26 shifts focus. What help did the Confederation offer back in that first 25,000-year cycle?
Ross says they mostly worked on the inner planes, offering subtle guidance, some specific help for the Martians adapting. But overall, direct involvement was limited.
Why limit it?
To allow the confusion mechanism free will, basically to operate freely. Letting entities learn from their own choices without too much outside interference, respect for free will is key.
The non-interference principle. Got it. Question 20.27 poses a hypothetical. If everyone learns super efficiently, polarize quickly, would they have been harvested after just one cycle? Move to another planet?
Ra untangles that. Says the ideal is seeking oneness, which allows immediate progression, but the usual pattern is smaller harvests after cycle 1, bigger after cycle 2, completion after cycle 3.
So it's typically a longer process.
Yeah, a more gradual planetary evolution is the norm.
So in 20.28, did the Confederation expect a harvest, positive and negative, after that first cycle, given the usual pattern?
Russ says yes, they expected it. Uses that analogy of a gardener waiting for spring. When it doesn't come, well, maybe the gardener needs to do something different. It implies the polarization just wasn't there yet.
And 20.29 confirms it directly. No harvestable entities, positive or negative, after 25,000 years.
Correct. And Ra adds a crucial point here. The Orion group did try to offer their service to self info during this time.
The negative influence arrived early.
But interestingly, Ross says their initial attempt was mostly ignored by the population back then.
Huh. Okay, so how did Orion try? What techniques? That's 20.3.
Two main methods Ra mentions: thought transfer, telepathy, and arranging stones; statues, rock formations, designed to project power; specifically mentions the Pacific and Central America.
Okay, physical markers, like 20.31 asks the Easter Island heads.
Ra confirms, yes,
Yeah,
those were part of it.
but how can a stone head, push people towards service to self? Question 20.32 asks that.
Ray's explanation is pretty deep. In a world where people feel powerless against nature, these huge, imposing, power-infused statues, people might start attributing power to them.
Okay.
And that feeling, that attribution of external power, could be twisted into a desire for power over others, a subtle psychological nudge towards service to self.
Wow. Using awe and mystery for manipulation. Clever in a dark way. How were they even built? Question 20.33. These things are massive.
Russ says mostly by thought, by scanning the collective deep mind of the planet to find images that would inspire awe and a sense of power, and manifesting them.
Manifested by thought, seriously.
That's what Ra claims, advanced stuff. Question 20.34 clarifies who did it. Mostly Orion entities, remotely using thought. A few later copies were made by people on Earth.
And what density were these Orion guys? 20.35.
Fourth density, the density of love or understanding.
Wait, fourth density. But their service to self.
Exactly. And 20.36 confirms this explicitly. Both positive and negative paths in fourth density fall under love or understanding.
How does that work?
Ross says love and understanding are one energy. The difference is the target. Is that love understanding directed primarily towards the self or towards other selves?
Mind blown. Okay, that's a huge concept. Same energy, different focus.
A pivotal insight. Question 20.37 asks when this happened. When were the heads built?
And the answer?
Roughly 60,000 years ago, according to Ra.
60,000. Okay, so quite early in the cycle. What about South America? Question 20.38 asks about structures there.
Ra mentions similar things: statues, rock formations, rock and earth combinations.
And 20.39 asks specifically the Nazca lines. Were they part of this too?
Ra confirms, yes.
But okay, question 20.40 raises a good point. Nazca lines are best seen from way up high. How did that help people on the ground back then?
Ra clarifies in 20.41. The main point wasn't really seeing them from the ground like we do now. The lines themselves were charged with energy of power. They were energetic structures first.
Ah, okay. But still, the visual.
And 20.42 addresses that. Ra says 60,000 years ago, the landscape there was different. There were hills overlooking the area.
So people could see them from hills.
They could see the powerful designs from those vantage points, yes. The flat landscape we see now is due to ages of erosion smoothing everything out.
So what we see today, 20.43 asks, are just faint traces.
Exactly. Faint traces of what were once much more prominent, energetically charged structures. The last few questions, 20.44 and 45, are just housekeeping about continuing the session and the questioner's plan for next time.
Right, focusing on positive entities next. Okay, wow. Let's just pause and absorb that. Session 20 is incredible.
It really covered a lot of ground.
We went from second density pets graduating to the diverse mix of early humans, that unbelievable 900-year lifespan.
And why it's shortened that lack of harmony, the failure to build positive polarity.
Yeah, and then the early influences, the Confederation working subtly, respecting free will.
And the Orion group's first attempts using telepathy and those amazing thought-created stone structures like Easter Island and Nazca.
It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? Like social harmony affecting lifespan, belief systems being influenced by these energetic structures.
Physical changes tied to vibration, the nature of fourth density having both positive and negative expressions of love. It's all linked.
So many aha moments. That 900-year lifespan, the thought-built statues, it definitely challenges standard history.
It paints a very different picture of our deep past.
It really does. So here's something to chew on, maybe. We talked about those early influences, the long lifespans, the separation between groups, the Orion stuff. How much might those very early patterns laid down 60,000, 75,000 years ago still be echoing in our collective unconscious today? Are we still playing out dynamics seeded way back then?
That's a deep question. This session definitely gives us a glimpse into the ancient roots of our current reality.
It certainly does. Well, thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive today.
Always a pleasure.
Until we meet again to explore more, may you walk in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. I am you and you are me. Namaste.